Have you ever had this happen? You walk away from a conversation feeling just completely drained, anxious, maybe even a little angry. You know you went in feeling fine, but you left carrying this emotional weight that just wasn't yours. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dissect a really powerful psychological trick that explains exactly why that happens. We're going to uncover the hidden mechanics of how manipulators can literally transfer their moods directly to you, and, way more importantly, how you can stop it cold.
You walk into a room calm, but you leave anxious and defensive. Where in the world did that mood come from? This, right here, is the dark psychological paradox of emotional contagion. It's this hidden social mechanism that pretty much forces your nervous system to catch and reflect the moods of other people. And this experience, this bizarre feeling of catching an emotion that you know doesn't belong to you, that is at the very heart of what we are breaking down today.
All right, so to get to the bottom of this, we've got a 6-part game plan. We'll start with that unexplained mood shift. Then we'll define the manipulator's covert tool. We're going to spend a good chunk of time on how the mood transfer actually works, because that's the core of this whole thing. After that, we'll dig into the psychology of control, and then, the part you've been waiting for, how to take back your emotions and break this whole contagion loop for good.
So let's start right there, with that feeling, that shared experience. You know, you're having a perfectly fine day, and then a coworker comes over and just starts unloading about their terrible morning. They're sighing, their shoulders are slumped, and without you even realizing it, you feel your own mood just plummet. That's the moment we're talking about. Recognizing that this sudden shift might not even be about you is the first and honestly, the most critical step.
And I really want to be crystal clear on this. That feeling is not just in your head. It is not you being overly sensitive or imagining things. What you're experiencing is a real, tangible, neurological process. See, your brain and your nervous system, they're literally wired for connection. It's an evolutionary feature, right? It's supposed to help us build social bonds. It's what allows us to feel empathy. But this automatic system, this biological wiring built for connection, it can be hijacked. So when you walk away from someone feeling agitated, you didn't just decide to feel that way. You very likely experienced the echo of their emotion transmitted directly into your nervous system.
Okay, so let's move on and actually put a name to this whole mechanism. We're going to define what emotional contagion is, and then we're going to see how this perfectly natural human process becomes a manipulator's secret weapon. The official term is emotional contagion, or EC. Now let's look at the keywords here: automatic and unconscious. That means this happens without your permission, and a lot of the time without you even knowing it. It's a reflex, you know? Like pulling your hand away from a flame. And it all works through nonverbal cues. The tiniest shifts in posture, a subtle frown, the tension in someone's jaw, even how they're breathing. This whole thing is run by your brain's mirror neuron system, which is designed to see an expression and then just replicate it inside you. It's how we learn. It's how we empathize. But it's also the backdoor for this kind of manipulation.
And this is where it all takes a dark turn. A manipulator, especially someone with narcissistic tendencies, they get this process intuitively. They know they don't have to win an argument with logic if they can just make you feel defeated or guilty or anxious. They exploit this biological shortcut to get control without ever having to say what they want. In essence, they are outsourcing their own bad feelings to you. They don't want to feel their own anger, so they project it, you catch it, and suddenly you're the one stuck dealing with that heavy emotion. It's control by proxy.
So it's absolutely crucial to understand the difference here. On one side, you've got authentic empathy. That's a healthy, two-way street. The goal is to connect and understand. It's like building a bridge. But weaponized contagion, that is a one-way street, and it's all about imposition. It's not about connection, it's about control. A manipulator isn't trying to share their experience with you. They're trying to force their emotional state onto you to get what they want, basically overriding how you feel with how they feel.
So, how do they actually pull this off? How does this transfer happen on a physical, neurological level? This section right here is the absolute core of our explainer. We're going to map out the process of this neurological hijacking step by step.
Let's walk through this mood transfer cycle. It happens in a blink of an eye, but it's a 4-step process. First up, projection. The manipulator isn't just feeling something, they're performing it. Think of it like they're broadcasting a signal. It's often a very calculated display. Slumped shoulders to project helplessness, a tight jaw to project anger. They change their tone of voice. This is the signal they're sending out. Next is mimicry. This is where your own body kind of betrays you. Your mirror neurons see these physical cues and automatically, without you even thinking about it, they imitate them. Your own face will subtly mimic their frown. Your posture will shift just a little bit to match their tension. It's a microscopic physical echo you don't even notice. Then, here's the crazy part: feedback. Your brain senses this tiny change in your own body, the new tension in your shoulders, the new expression, and it asks, wait, why am I doing this? And then it jumps to a conclusion, I must be feeling this way. Your brain literally interprets your own involuntary mimicry as a real, authentic emotion. That is the mood transfer trick in action. And finally, internalization. You've now accepted this transferred emotion as your own. You feel it, you believe it, and you start acting on it. You get defensive or sad or guilty. The manipulator has successfully offloaded their emotion onto you. The loop is complete.
So if you want to get technical about it, the two scientific terms for what we just described are motor mimicry and afferent feedback. Motor mimicry is that unconscious physical imitation we just talked about, and afferent feedback is that wild process where your brain reads your body's new state and then generates the matching emotion. One leads directly to the other. It's a chain reaction happening totally beneath the level of conscious thought, and it's the engine that drives emotional contagion.
Okay, let's move on. Now that we understand how it works, let's dig into the why. What's motivating the manipulator to do this in the first place, and what is it that makes us so vulnerable to it?
This table really lays out the whole dynamic perfectly. On the left, you see the manipulator's motivation is effortless emotional control. I mean, why bother with a logical argument when you can just infect someone with the feeling you want them to have? They use their emotion like a viral command, and it just bypasses all your rational defenses. This is also how they shift blame. You've heard it before. I'm not angry, you're making me angry. They project anger, you catch it and react, and boom, suddenly you're the problem. Now on the right, you see our vulnerability. For a lot of us, it's a deep compulsion to empathize. We're wired to connect. And empathetic people can be especially vulnerable. We also tend to confuse this contagion with real synchrony. We think we're on the same wavelength when really we're just picking up their broadcast. And finally, the sheer speed of our mirror neuron system means this all happens before our conscious brain even has a chance to say, hey, wait a minute.
So here's the bottom line. The manipulator's goal is not to convince you, it's to dominate you. Persuasion takes facts, logic, respect for your mind. This trick, it bypasses all of that. It's a direct, visceral hook into your nervous system. It's about creating an emotional atmosphere, a cloud of anxiety or guilt that you are then forced to operate in, which puts them in complete control of everything.
All right, we have really dissected the problem. We've looked at the mechanism, the motivation. Now let's pivot to the solution. This is the empowering part. Now that we've seen the trap, let's talk about how to disarm it. Let's lay out a clear protocol for taking back your own emotional state.
The core strategy is right here. The attack is automatic synchrony, so the defense has to be conscious and intentional dyssynchrony. You have to deliberately break that invisible connection. You have to choose to stop mirroring them. And I'll tell you, it's going to feel unnatural at first, because it goes against our basic biological programming. It's a small act of social rebellion, but it's the only way to build an emotional firewall and protect what's going on inside you.
So how do you actually do this? Here is a simple, practical, two-step defense you can start using today. Step 1. Name the source. The second you feel that unexplained mood shift, you have to pause and become a detective of your own feelings. Ask yourself this one question. Is this emotion mine, or did I just catch it? If you suddenly feel small and defensive in a meeting, ask yourself, is this really my feeling, or am I just mirroring the tense, aggressive posture of the person talking? Just asking the question creates a mental gap. It stops the unconscious process right in its tracks. Step 2. Interrupt the mimicry. This is a physical action. You have to consciously change your physical state to be the opposite of theirs. If they're tense, deliberately relax your shoulders. Roll them back. If they're frowning, consciously smooth your own brow. Unclench your jaw. Take one slow, deep breath. By physically breaking the mirror, you sever the connection. You stop that feedback loop and send a brand new, calmer signal to your brain that says, nope, we're not feeling that. We're feeling this instead.
And that brings us to our final section. We're going to pull all these different threads together, summarize the key takeaways, and leave you with the single most important lesson from this entire breakdown.
So let's recap. When you boil it all down, what we've been talking about is the mood transfer trick. It is not random. It's a deliberate tactic that hijacks a natural biological process for one single purpose: to control your emotions from the outside in.
And the mechanism isn't magic, it's neurology. The pattern of motor mimicry forces your body to unconsciously copy the manipulator's physical state. And then, the process of afferent feedback forces your brain to misinterpret that physical state as your own genuine feeling. That's how they make you feel what they want you to feel.
But you are not powerless here. You can break this silent spell. Awareness is your shield, and action is your sword. By actively naming the source of the emotion and physically interrupting the mimicry, you sever that connection. You take back control of your own emotional state, and you refuse to be a vessel for someone else's emotional baggage.
And this really brings us to the most powerful thought of all. You break the mood transfer the very moment you refuse to mimic the pain. Your power, your freedom, it lies in that one small, conscious decision to not reflect back the emotional state being pushed onto you.
And so, we'll leave you with this final, practical question. A question you can carry with you from this moment on into all your daily interactions. Whose emotions are you feeling right now? The ability to genuinely answer that question for yourself, that's the key to your emotional freedom.